Welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast, your number one opinion source for all things entertainment. Join host Marco Mazzola as he sounds off on the latest movies, TV, music, gaming, comic books, and more. Now, here's the man of the hour, Marco Mazzola.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Entertainment Rants Podcast. I am your host, Marco Mazzola, and today I am joined by two guests. I have Amy. Say hello.
Hi.
Amy is my wife, and we have her sister, my sister-in-law, Sam.
Hey, guys, I'm back.
And she is back. All right, so today we're going to be talking about guilty pleasure movies. I pulled off a few lists off the internet, so I thought we'd kind of go there. So basically the definition we found out for a guilty pleasure movie is basically a movie that is not highly regarded as far as a movie goes. It's quality. Not a lot of critics liked it or people, but we like them anyway. We watch them, and maybe we don't really like to tell people that we watch them because of the, feedback we might get from them as to why you would be watching that movie. But there's a few on there on the list that I found that just didn't make any sense that they're on the movie because sometimes they are highly regarded movies or very well-liked movies. But some of them, like I found one, it's on Home Alone is on the list. That doesn't make any sense. I think a lot of people do like that movie.
I like that movie.
Indiana Jones and Last Crusade is on one of the lists.
That's one of my favorites.
Right, exactly. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. It didn't make any sense. Some of the lists just didn't make any sense.
But which Willy Wonka, though? The first one or the Johnny Depp?
No, the original.
Garbage.
Like the Johnny Depp one would totally be a guilty pleasure movie. It wasn't very well regarded.
I hate the first Willy Wonka. It freaked me out.
Why is that?
Why?
I didn't like it. I thought Willy Wonka was creepy. I didn't like the Oompa Loompas, the whole thing.
The Oompa Loompas are shady as hell. They're great.
Very creepy. They're extremely creepy.
I hated that movie.
Yeah, I mean, as you watch as a kid, because that's when you watched it originally, it's that old, there was definitely some creepy scenes to it. The theory, the book is like that too, and the kids just start, getting picked off one by one.
But isn't that the entire point, that they're bratty and they're supposed to be getting picked off? Like,
isn't
that their retribution? Like, isn't that the factory's retribution?
It absolutely is, but it's not like a situation where they're just being like, right, you're being naughty, go sit in the corner. It's like, all right, you're being naughty, you're now getting sucked into the chocolate river, or you're being into the trash.
Y'all shouldn't have stuck your face in the river. He gave you rules.
He gave you the warnings.
Is that not creepy? It's like totally it's like the Hunger Games. I couldn't sleep like when
chocolate. Yeah.
Oh my god, it's like the Hunger Games.
Yeah. The Candy Hunger Games. So no, it definitely was. But then within that movie, there's the boat scene, which is the height of creepy, right? Because you're seeing all that imagery with the worms and the things and the chicken getting pecking and stuff. Like that was the part of the movie that always creeped me out. The rest of the movie I loved, and I always wanted to be in that main chocolate room where everything was made out of candy. Oh, good Lord, I would have loved that. I'm like, all right, and board up the door. I'm here. I'm fine, and that would have been it for me. So yeah, that's definitely a guilty pleasure movie. I guess people do like it. So all right, let's go around the table basically and list. We'll talk about each individual one as to why. So who wants to start? Sam wants to start. Okay, Sam wants to start. What's the sort of the top of your list for guilty pleasure movies?
So anything really with Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, sort of those Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen, like go to Australia, or Our Lips Are Sealed, or like Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen take Paris. Like those were some of my favorites.
I don't know how we top that.
I don't know either. I thought you were going to say the Rugrats movie.
Don't you be coming for the Rugrats like that, Amy.
Do you know how many times I saw the Rugrats movie?
That's awesome. So what was your favorite Mary-Kate and Ashley movie, I dare to ask?
Oh, Our Lips Are Sealed, the one where they get set and put into the FBI witness protection program because they witnessed a murder. And they keep blabbing everywhere they go that they're in witness protection, which I don't understand why they wouldn't have just gotten thrown out. But apparently they are so bad they had to send them to Australia.
All right. So what about that movie then works for you and makes you want to watch it over and over again? Because that's the whole point, right? They're movies that aren't really great movies, but we watch them over and over again.
Oh, I wanted to be them. I wanted to get to go to Australia. I wanted to get to wear all the cool clothes. I wanted to get to go on a boat, and I wanted to get to fight bad guys and run around Australia and meet cute boys.
You've been on a boat.
Yeah, but it was like a yacht, Amy.
Not in Australia.
And not in Australia.
That's awesome. Fantastic. I love it. Oh.
I wanted to go on a boat. You've been on a lot of boats. Let's just take that one off the list. Let's just remove that.
These are the times where I wish this wasn't just an audio format. If you could see what's happening here in the studio. That's fantastic. All right. So that's one from Sam. Amy, over to you.
So you told me it isn't a guilty pleasure movie, but it's one. Clue. I love.
Yeah, but that's on a list. That is
I
on
know.
a list. I wouldn't think it is.
I
It's a
know.
pretty well liked movie, but it's kind of a cult classic
I
movie.
love Clue. I think
Me too.
I think it's like really, really well written.
Mm-hmm.
I love the final scene where they're all running around back and forth between the rooms.
They keep going over and over again.
Going over and over
They
and
keep
over
all
again.
different,
Yes.
endings.
One by one by one by one by one. I love that.
1 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1.
Yes.
No, it's 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1.
There are certain in high school, like my group of friends watched it. We watched it all the time, and we would quote certain lines, like the flames from the
Burning
sides of my
Side of my
head,
head.
burning,
Heaving,
burning,
breathing, breathless flames.
Yes.
Isn't that Mrs. White?
Yes, Madeline
It's
Kahn.
Mrs. White, yes. And the other line about flies are where men are most vulnerable, that whole exchange. We go back and forth with that. Like, I love that movie.
Yeah,
I
it is
think-
riddled with quotable lines. It
Yes.
really
The
is.
last line in that movie is good, though, where Professor Plum goes, I'm going home to have sex with my wife.
That's right, because he plays homosexual throughout the entire show, and then at the end is revealed he's not.
Yeah.
He's just playing. But yeah, that's on my list. That's on my list of top 10 like favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
You know?
I think Tim Curry, too, is just, like, masterful in
And then
that.
it's
I
like
think he's
height
just
of Tim Curry for me.
Oh, God, he's so great.
He played a great Wadsworth. The reveal at the end was fantastic. I love his performance in that. He's really funny, and you don't expect it, and you don't see it coming.
So I think more than like, so that makes me think, because more than like guilty pleasure movies, but like Psych, right? Which I don't know that that's a super highly regarded show, but I love
But it was
that
pretty
show.
well liked, but yeah.
But that episode in particular, the Clue one, is one
Right.
of my favorites.
Yes,
like
so
where
they-
they spoof Clue. That is
Yeah.
one of my favorites.
So it would make you feel like the Clue movie is more of a mainstream and
Mm-hmm.
people really like it. So how could it be a guilty pleasure? But I think you're right. I mean, it's been on a few lists. And when I researched, it's on a few lists.
I mean, I feel like it's definitely. And when I think of like cult classics, I think more of like Rocky Horror, right? Like the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That to me is more
Mm-hmm. That is,
like
but Clue is
Another
on there
Tim
because
Curry
it's a very
movie.
quotable movie.
another
so,
Tim
yep.
Curry movie. Yep.
But it's a very quotable movie, so people kind of do the same thing as they do to Rocky Horror. I mean, they don't dress up like it essentially, but they do quote it. Like they'll just sit there quoting the movie as it's playing. So that's definitely one that people do, and that's kind of why it's one of those cult classics. People watch it from a while ago. What did you think?
Well, I think there also has to be a certain level of kitsch that you have to buy into for any type of cult classic to work.
Yep.
Yep.
And Clue definitely has that. It has that buy-in feature. Like, if you're not bought in,
Yep.
then why are you even watching?
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a good point.
Yeah, and it was one of those like made from a game into a movie that to me worked, right? Like video games and board games. There's been a lot of movies that like Battleship, not a great movie, right? They made a they made a board game into a movie.
Did
right?
they really?
Yeah, it wasn't great at all. But I don't know. Hopefully
Who
that
could
doesn't
have
show up on the
possibly have
list.
seen that coming?
Right? But Clue was one of those ones that really worked, right? They took the board game and made it a real movie, and it really paid off. So, all right, so we have that one. So I'm looking at some of the lists, and I'm looking. One of mine that I love is called Big Trouble in Little China with Kurt Russell.
I thought that didn't that win awards?
No, I don't think so. It was in '86. Maybe it did. I have to look it up on IMDb, but I don't know that it won any awards. But
Okay,
maybe
so
for like
for those of us that don't know what you're talking about, maybe give us a little synopsis.
Yeah, so a little synopsis of Big Trouble in Little China. Kurt Russell plays a truck driver, Jack Burton, and he's friends with a guy who lives in Chinatown. They own a big, Chinese restaurant and things like that. And basically the backstory is within Chinatown in San Francisco, there is an old ancient, being who has lived through centuries is now trying to come back to real life. So he needs women who have green eyes to be able to marry them and then kill one of them or kill one to then become flesh and blood again. He's got a curse on him, blah, blah, blah. And so there's, it's all demons and monsters. And it is like one of those movies where there's, people dressed up as monsters, right? And you can see it's obviously somebody dressed up as a monster. So, the costume, it's a big movie. And it always has been. And it's one of those movies that's quoted a lot and it gets watched over and over and over again. But it's definitely one of those sort of a cult classic movie again. So it seems like a lot of the cult classic movies tend to be also a guilty pleasure movie, right? Because it's not a mainstream movie that everybody will watch.
Kim Cattrall was in it too.
Yep, King Cattrall's in it. Yeah, those are the two big names in there. There's a few other ones that have now gone on to other things. The main guy who plays Lo Pan, can you get his name for me?
Yeah, James Hong.
James Hong. He is that typical classic, like if you need the Asian actor, he's your guy. He's been in everything. He's still working today. He played in Kung Fu Panda, he plays Poe's father.
The duck.
That's his father. That's him. That's James Hong. So he's a very classic actor. He's been around in everything, and he plays Lo Pan.
Donald Lee too. I feel like has been in everything.
Which one was he?
He was Eddie Lee.
Yes, Eddie. Yeah. Eddie. He's been in a lot of stuff as well. Absolutely. So he just, again, one of my favorite movies. It's martial arts based, so that obviously helps. That plays right into my wheelhouse. Martial arts since I was 8 years old. So that's definitely one of the movies that caught me when I was a kid and watched over and over again. Again, it's what is it rated there? It's a PG-13, and I don't think it's R, but it could possibly be. But I think it's PG-13. But definitely when it came out in '86, and I was only 10. When it came out, probably shouldn't have been watching that movie. I know a lot of, Amy and I talk about this constantly. Things that I used to watch and listen to when I was a kid that probably at 6 to 10 years old probably shouldn't have been watching or listening to.
Christian's not watching this one at 6 to 10.
No, probably not. Probably not at 10 years old.
I can't find it here. It's got a 74% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, there you go.
7.3 on IMDb. I think more people might like this than you think, dear.
I definitely know people like this. It's a great movie, and like I said, it's a cult classic movie. So it's weird that it's on a guilty pleasure movie list. I don't really feel like you should be feeling guilty about watching this movie at all.
I feel like guilty pleasure movies also fall into that sci-fi fantasy, or they fall into comedies. You don't really see
horror.
And a lot of horror. You don't see a lot of guilty pleasure being dramas. They just call them bad.
Yeah, exactly.
They just call them bad, and then we never talk about them again.
Right. Yeah, you don't watch them over and over again. I think you do have to watch a lot of the comedy stuff like that, things that you can rewatch over and over again. You're laughing. What's going on?
Because I'm looking at this 1990s movies about guilty pleasure movies, and The Waterboy is on there.
Yeah, I can see that one. I can see that.
Definitely.
I like The Waterboy too. Not one of my favorite Adam Sandler movies, but it's up there. It was definitely it was weird. It was a weird movie that kind of with the character he portrayed, because he was definitely mentally handicapped. It was almost like they were making fun of him. So I think that doesn't get regarded as one that you're going to mainstream, especially now. I don't know that plays in 2021.
Doesn't feel good.
No, it's definitely not a feel good movie, because you're basically making fun of somebody who has that condition. So I don't know that in 2021, as woke as we are, it doesn't really play anymore.
No. So what is your favorite Adam Sandler?
Happy Gilmore. It's that's one of the originals. You know what I mean? You're shaking your head.
Big Daddy.
Big Daddy, that's definitely more of a feel-good movie.
I like that one.
Yeah, it's a great movie. Happy Gilmore is a funnier movie. I think it's definitely a funnier movie. It you know what I mean? It has more comedy in it on purpose. So that's why it's definitely regarded as a higher movie than Big Daddy's. That's one you'll see more often played, on TV, rerun TV than you will see a Big Daddy. But a good movie. I do like Big Daddy as well.
But Adam Sandler, definitely guilty pleasure movie, 8 Crazy Nights.
8 Crazy Nights. Is that the?
It's the animated one.
Yeah, the Christmas one, right?
It's
the
Hanukkah.
Hanukkah. What did I say? Christmas?
One.
Oh my God!
Christmas.
Wow. You see which one I celebrate? Hanukkah. It's the Hanukkah movie. That's right. Oh, because he has the Hanukkah song. It's in there. I haven't seen that whole thing. I never got a chance to watch the whole thing. The Hanukkah song is obviously in there.
So if anybody doesn't know, every single year at Thanksgiving, my family would just constantly play the Hanukkah song while we were traveling down to the vineyard for Thanksgiving vacation.
It was interesting. It was a good time. We sang it quite a bit.
Yeah.
We had fun.
Yeah.
Because they said I couldn't play.
He's had a few different versions.
They said I couldn't play, mostly, and this was before we were together, they said that I couldn't play Christmas music yet, so I played the Hanukkah song.
There you go.
In protest.
In protest.
Multiple times.
Yeah.
I have another guilty pleasure movie. I was just looking at this list.
Yeah.
And you've probably seen it, but I bet you haven't. Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Yeah, that's been on the list too.
I loved that movie.
I'd have to say.
Okay, so not to date myself, but wasn't that a TV show? And then the spinoff was Angel?
But it was a movie.
But it was a movie first
before that.
With Christy Swanson.
And I really had no desire.
Donald Sutherland.
And I had no desire to see it, but my friends were going to the movies. Mm-hmm. I think it must have been in junior high. And they were going to the movies, and I remember I was like, all right, well, what's the worst? It cost $5, so I'm really dating myself. It cost $5 to go to the movies then during the day. So I was like, what the hell? What the heck? It's $5. So I went. I loved it. It was such a good movie.
I enjoyed that movie too.
She was really she was strong. She was powerful.
Yeah.
She wasn't silly. She wasn't campy. You could take her really seriously. Yeah. I loved it. I thought it was
That's
such
not exactly
a good
why
movie.
I watched the movie, but yes, we definitely have different point of views to why I watched the movie.
Yeah.
It was Christy Swanson. Let's just face it. Let's just get out there.
Yeah, but I don't know. I thought I was worried it was going to be super cheesy and campy, and she was going to be a helpless.
Well, it is kind of cheesy and campy to a certain degree.
But
you have Paul Rubens in there,
but in an okay way.
Why am I hearing music?
I don't know.
Okay.
So you do. It was cheesy and campy, but not in a bad way. Not in a way, it wasn't over the top for me, cheesy and campy.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like, she also wasn't, sometimes female superheroes are helpless and there always has to be like a man who comes in and saves them. And she didn't have that. Like she was just herself.
Yeah, definitely.
It was awesome.
My favorite part is Paul Rubens in that movie. He played one of the vampires. Remember at the end, they took off his arm, and he's sitting there kicking the wall. He's like, and he's just kicking. He just stops, and he stops, and all of a sudden you hear him kick the wall.
Is he the one? Was he the one who was floating outside the window and was like, come on, man, invite me in? Was that him?
He was one of them. Yeah, he was like one of the main.
Because you have to invite them. Like you have to invite them in.
Vampires can't come in until you invite them in.
Until you invite them in. So it was like.
Yeah, he was one of the main ones. So
I really loved
it was
that
just
movie.
that ending part. It was like after the credits, and he's still like he's been hurt, and you don't know what happened to him. So all of a sudden they just pick up after the credits, and he's sort of hunched over with his arm missing. He's complaining about it. He's just moaning and he kicks the wall.
I've got two more, but they're more like, I think they also fall into that like most of my guilty pleasure movies are like culty. They've got a definite fan base, and they're more like comedy based. And then I've got one sci-fi.
Okay.
So my sci-fi one is Galaxy Quest.
I've never watched the whole thing.
Me either.
Oh,
For some reason, it just never struck my interest. I know it's a huge movie. People love that movie.
It's Alan Rickman, and they're making fun of Star Trek.
I love all the parts, all the people in there. Sigourney Weaver's in there. Tim Allen's in there. I mean, it's just I know
the guy who plays Monk,
movie.
Tony Shalhoub, is in there.
Tony Shalhoub's in there. That's right. Yeah. So my knowledge of movies is weird because I watched a lot of movies and TV shows, but even the ones that I haven't watched, I know stuff about, which is really, it just sticks with me for some reason. It's like I know who the cast is, I know what the movie's about, but I haven't actually watched the whole movie, which is strange. It happens a lot to me. I don't know why. I've never watched Fargo. All right, I know it's supposed to be a great movie, but I remember sitting in my kitchen and the opening scene with the snow and the machine comes up, basically it comes through, and I'm watching it and I see that part and I go, oh, this is Fargo, and then Fargo, the title comes up. I'm like, okay, well I probably should turn this off now because I know the movie, I've never seen it, but I know by its opening before the title comes up. That was a little weird for me.
I don't even know what to say to that.
I know. It's weird. It's like I can pick out the movie, but I've probably seen a trailer for it or something like that, and it stuck with me.
I thought it was really good. I saw it.
Yeah.
It's really it's really suspenseful. It's very like Frances McDormand is great in it. They're all really great in it. Steve Buscemi's great in it.
Is Billy Bob in there?
I think so. Yeah. I think Billy Bob is in there too. Yeah. It's been years and years and years since I've seen it, but it was really well done. But it's intense. Yeah. It's one of those movies that like you watched it and it's great and it's intense. But you're not in a rush to watch it again.
Right. You never want to relive that suspenseful feeling.
So kind of like it's not a perfect analogy, but kind of like I saw Schindler's List once. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I can ever go through that emotional upheaval again.
It's great to have watched it because it's a piece of cinematic history.
Yeah.
Won obviously a ton of awards, including Best Picture.
Yeah. Not to compare that to the Holocaust, but it's the only thing I can think of right in that moment that had the same kind of like real.
It's okay.
Really
you can
intense.
say it's not a documentary. It's just in a sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It is, but it isn't. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's a dramatization of something that actually happened. But it is. It's just that one of those movies. I don't know. It's hard for me to rewatch those particularly. Yep. I need lighter things.
Yeah.
I can't believe they called Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade a guilty pleasure movie.
I know. I saw that on the list too. That made no sense to me. That's one of my favorites out of the series.
That's my favorite Indiana Jones.
Yeah. It's the lightest one. It's sort of lighthearted compared to the other ones because of the contrast between him and his father.
Yeah,
like that whole playing back and forth, that the comedic aspect between the two of them kind of made it a lighter than the first one.
Is that the one where they had to pick out the chalice?
Yes, that's right.
Yes. Okay.
On the Crusade for the Holy Grail.
I like that one. I don't know. I mean, to me, that's not a guilty pleasure movie. To me, that's
not
just
at all.
like,
I mean, that's a strong movie in the whole series.
I love all the Indiana Jones movies in general. Yeah. Like I watch them.
The fourth one,
even the one with the aliens.
No.
And
I only count the first three.
It sounds like the fifth one, and I could be wrong. They're going to kind of almost retcon it, kind of like they did Jurassic Park 3. Like that doesn't really exist, and they're going to kind of play with it. You know what I mean? Because I think there's 2 more coming out. I know they're already working on 5, and I forget who's it. There's a female going to be in it. And she's almost going to what the idea is that she's going to take over because obviously Harrison Ford can't keep doing this. He's in his 70s. He can't keep doing these. So he's going to be in it, but then he might be handing off the fedora or the whip, if you will, to the next person to continue the series because it's still making money. Even Kingdom Skull or Crystal Skull made money. I don't know how.
It was awful.
It was awful.
It
was horrible. That's
also,
not even a guilty
Kate
pleasure
Blanchett
movie. That's just
she's such a good actress, but oh my God.
That happens constantly, right? We have great actors and actresses that just get cast in bad movies.
And just bad movies.
And you can't blame them. There's the script they're given, the direction they're given. They can just only do so much with the script and the direction that they're given.
Well, and I think sometimes too, it's hard to know exactly how it's gonna, because look at how many people passed up on Forrest Gump. If you ever read anything about that,
Yep.
like to the point it almost wasn't going to get made.
Yeah.
Till Tom Hanks read it. Like at least 10 people or something. I think I forget. It was a really high number of people who passed on it,
Yep.
and then watched it and were like, "Why did I pass on this?" But it also depends on who's in the role, right?
Yep.
Like if it had been John Travolta is one of the names I remember. If it had been John Travolta, it might not have been nearly as good.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
The actor and actress make the movie.
Make the movie. I mean, he really made that. But
Yeah, it wouldn't have
What
been
are some of the other ones that are on the list you're looking at?
So one of the ones that's on the list, which is one of my number one, not necessarily one of my favorite movies of all time, but probably one of my number one guilty pleasure movies, is Ella Enchanted. With Can
you even
You're
imagine?
gonna bust out laughing. I can turn your mic down if I have to. But yes, can you imagine?
I have to go away from the mic.
Exactly.
he told me
It's the
this the other
acceptance
night.
in the
That's
room
why
that
I'm
I
not
love.
laughing. I was like, "What?"
Yeah, I know. I pretty should have prepped you beforehand too. Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
We've been
I
married
like
for
Anne
40
Hathaway as an actress anyway. I
know.
liked what do you call it? Now I'm forgetting. With boy,
Princess Diaries?
no, I was not a Princess Diaries fan. Ready to wear?
Oh,
Devil Wears Prada.
Devil-
Devil Wears
Prada.
Prada. That's the one. Devil
but
Wears
that
Prada.
was a good one.
That's a great movie. No, I know. I like that movie too, but I like her in that movie. But I like Stanley Tucci anyway, so he kind of helped make that movie for me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Emily Blunt's also in that movie.
Yep.
Meryl Streep is in that movie.
Yeah, I love Ella Enchanted. I don't know why. I'll watch that movie every time. It's goofy, it's silly, but it's just lighthearted and fun. I like that kind of,
Yeah.
I like movies
Yeah.
like that anyway, like, Princess Bride and, Cinderella and, that sort of, Renaissance
What
time
about
period.
Cinderella, like the Black Cinderella with Brandy?
I've never seen it. Never seen it.
You've got to if you like that kind of movie.
I like the Drew Barrymore version.
Oh,
with
that one was
Grace
really,
Scott.
really good.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite movies. I love that movie for some reason. It's sort of a realistic take on it, if you will.
Do you know what else is on this list?
What's that?
Is the Princess Diaries.
Yeah, The Princess Diaries is on the list.
love The
Not one of my
Princess
favorite
Diaries.
movies, but yeah.
We loved the Princess Diaries. I loved that too. I thought they were great. I thought they were
Even the
really,
second
really good.
one.
No, I can appreciate that people like those movies. Like, I can see why people like those movies. It's certainly not like my least favorite or why would you watch that movie. It's just not for me. I guess it's not my wheelhouse. I don't really, I've seen them. I've actually seen all
Well, I
of them.
mean,
But
let's be
two
fair,
of them, right?
Marco.
Was there two
the
or three?
Princess Diaries and Princess Diaries 2, I don't think you were their main target
that was
audience.
definitely not their target audience.
I mean,
one can
never
hope.
was, never will
Honey,
be.
it's no Mary-Kate and Ashley.
That's
Our lips
right.
are sealed.
That is true.
It's really. And you.
That
Winning
aimed-
London was
that
up
was
there,
aimed
too.
right at me.
that,
But Ella Enchanted was certainly not aimed at me either.
I know, but you are a man of mystery, dear. You are an enigma.
I am wrapped in mystery and smothered in secret sauce. So, all right, what else do we have? What other movies do you have that are on your list? That are on your personal list? I have one. There's another one on the list, Bloodsport by Jean-Claude Van Damme. Again, it's one of those, 80s karate movies. It was 88, actually. Yeah, it's sort of the one that propelled him into being an action star, that and Kickboxer. And still one of those movies I will watch every single time it's on. I love that movie. My friends and I, my cousin and I still quote that movie. It's definitely one of my favorite movies. One of my favorite martial arts movies of all time is Bloodsport.
I've never seen Bloodsport.
Yeah, that does not shock me
I know
at
that
all.
will shock the viewer, the listenership here.
Yeah.
Have you seen Bloodsport, man?
I'm sorry, Blood what now?
Exactly, Bloodsport. So there's a lot of movies. So just so the listeners know, Amy and I do this constantly. We talk about movies, and it shocks me to no end every time hey, do you remember this? And she goes, yeah, I've never seen it. That is the common thread in our house. Yeah, I've never seen it. I've never seen it. And it shocks me to the core.
I didn't watch as many movies and TV growing up.
Absolutely
I did
did not.
Our parents made us read books.
They'll see,
They
and
did.
that's the problem.
And do other things.
That was the problem.
Honey, how about Johnny Dangerously? I know how you feel about that movie.
That is in one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time.
It's bad.
No, it is what bad? You're out of your mind.
It is
the
bad.
best movies of all.
Okay, but like, is
definitely one
it
of the best
Snakes on a
comedy.
Plane bad or like?
Kinda.
No, Snakes on a Plane, which was funny. It had some moments. Like there's a couple of moments in that movie that are funny. Johnny Dangerously was funny from beginning to end. But it's a different type of movie. It's a spoof movie. Snakes on a Plane was meant to be comical and funny, but it's not a spoof movie per se. Whereas Johnny Dangerously was a mobster spoof movie the whole way through, and that's what it was meant to be.
It's really fargin' funny.
Oh, it's really farging funny. So have you never seen it? You have to watch that movie. I think you will appreciate that movie. Michael Keaton plays Johnny Dangerously. Grows up in the Brooklyn and the Brooklyn or the Bronx with his mom, who she's ailing the entire time. He's a good kid. Him and his younger brother, their father was arrested and put to electric chair for being a criminal basically, and so the mom always wanted him to grow up right, and he started to, but then she needed money, so he turned to a life of crime. Because he was really good at it, and so he becomes a mobster behind his mother's back and behind his brother's back, who ends up being like the district attorney throughout the movie. So he's got like this dual life where the mom and brother think he's just a successful nightclub owner, but in the background he's actually like the lead, the head mobster, and the head mobster of the gang was actually played by Peter Boyle from Everybody Loves Raymond, and then he ends up handing over the keys to Michael Keaton's character, John Daniel. Joe Piscopo's in it, who kind of plays his rival, even though they're in the same gang, but he's kind of his rival within the gang. A lot of funny moments on that one. I mean, every time Joe Piscopo, somebody does something to Joe Piscopo, and he's like, you shouldn't do this to me. This person did this to me once. One time, like, Johnny hangs him on a hook on the door. And he's like, you shouldn't hang me on a hook, Johnny. My sister hung me on a hook once. You know what I mean? And he's like, kicks him in the balls. You shouldn't kick me in the balls, Johnny. My grandmother kicked me in the balls once. It's always happens throughout the whole movie. And it basically turns to him becoming, being the gangster, and then finding out that crime doesn't pay. That's like the whole movie. It ends up, the end of the movie, he owns a pet store. Yeah, he owns a pet store. The whole movie starts out with a kid coming in to steal a cat or a dog. He tries to steal a dog. Meanwhile, Johnny's like, he's literally with a pricing gun, pricing the cats. Like just on their back, just like putting little price tags on their back, like putting them down, hitting a price tag on it, right? So it's that kind of spoof movie, right? He's got a tray of food and he's walking through the pet store and he's giving the pets their food. He's like, all right, you didn't have the fish with you, but I think you'll like this, what I have today. And he walks past the cage and goes flying out of the cage. He's like, guess not. That kind of thing. So like, he gets arrested because his brother gets him arrested essentially because he gets, what do you call it? He gets set up on a crime that he didn't commit for killing like the commissioner or something like that. And so he gets put to electric chair and he's walking down death row as they're like taking him to the chair. And the priest is one of the guys in his gang who's just completely rambling. They say Dominus Bisco. Then he just starts like rambling. He got the bus. They missed the bus. When's the next bus? Like he just starts, he's taking the real thing and then just starts trailing off into different things. Like Magnum Cum Laude. The radio's too loudy. He's just going off, right?
Magna cum laude is a real thing.
No, I know that's the real part, and then he doesn't know what else to say, so he just starts riffing on that
it's
one real thing.
It's not Magnum cum laude; it's Magna cum laude.
Yeah, but he just keeps going with it, right? So that's one. Again, it's just a spoof movie all the way through, and it turns out crime doesn't pay. So that's one of my all-time favorite comedies and movies of all time.
I know.
Definitely watch that movie. I'm going to give a thumbs up to that one. All right, what's our next one?
So. I mean, I don't know that but all the things that I'm coming up with, I feel like are generally pretty highly regarded. Like, I was just thinking My Cousin Vinny, but I think people.
Oh no, yeah, I don't know if that'd be
that's not a guilty pleasure.
Yeah, but no, I don't know. I think it kind of is. It's one of those like it was a great movie and she won an award for it, right? She got best. She won their Oscar for that one. It was like her breakout. I was like brand new person coming out of the gates and
Marissa Tomei.
All of a sudden Oscar. It was weird. Kind of came out of nowhere, but yeah, I mean the movie itself isn't like high up on it, but I think a lot of it, like you said, it's kind of like comedies and sci-fi. So is guilty pleasure ones that aren't like critically acclaimed necessarily? Well, comedies and sci-fi stuff generally aren't anyway. So you could almost put anything into that role because they're just not going to be put up there.
Oh, I love that movie. I just think it's so funny.
Yeah, I do too.
Really, I laugh every time. I know what they're going to say. I can, pretty much recite all of her speech on the stand. I just think it's hysterical. Like it's
it's an extremely quotable movie. It's a very quotable movie. You've seen it, obviously.
Yes, that is also another Christmas movie that we watch.
Christmas movie?
It's always on USA or TNT. When I was growing up, it was always on, so we always put it on.
That's interesting.
I don't remember it around Christmas, but I remember watching it with you a lot. I remember we watched it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite movies. Some of the best lines in that movie, right? So do the speech.
No, I'm not doing the whole speech. Now that I'm pressured, it's like falling out of my head.
Nice.
Like it's now that I'm like, all I can come up with is Chevy didn't make a 60. Chevy didn't make a. I can't even think of it now.
Chevy didn't make a 67 in mint green.
No, it's not. That's not what it is. It's a 64.
The 486
in the 486 in the mint green until 64. However, in 1964, the correct ignition timing would be 4 degrees from top dead center.
Over top dead center.
She lifts her hands up. That's right. She's pretty cute too, right? That's right.
Watch this.
Yeah. Was that a suit? What is that thing you're wearing? It's a suit. I got it from a secondhand store. My suit got mud on it. So I took it to the 1 hour cleaner. This town doesn't have a 1 hour cleaner. So I had to find a new place to get a new suit. The only place to get a new suit was closed for the flu. Did you catch that? The entire store was closed with the flu. So I had to go to this secondhand store. So it was either wear the leather jacket, which I know you hate, or wear this ridiculous thing. So I wore this ridiculous thing for you. Are you mocking me? No, Judge, I'm not mocking you. I don't like your attitude. I'm a fucking surprise.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I've known to be quoting way too many movies and get them right for the most part. I'm about 90% accurate.
For all of those listening, Amy is now crying.
Yes. Yeah.
She's laughing so hard, just so everyone knows.
Well, the fact that I can go through that much of the scene without stopping is a little discerning to people, disconcerting to people.
And people should know, like, this is probably the reason that we're married, because you can do that. And I think it's funny, not that, and it doesn't freak me out.
Yeah, the two Utes. What's a Ute? Sorry, the two the defendants. He looks at the judge, and Fred Gwynn looks at him like, you asshole.
The two defendants.
Yeah. Mrs. Riley, and only Mrs. Riley. How many fingers do I have now? That's my favorite. I love that line.
How many levels of thickness have you gone through in the last 2 years, dear?
It might be time for a thicker set. But I do that all the time in the school when I'm teaching, because I'll ask a question and like 4 kids will answer, but I've asked like one person specifically. I'll say their name, and then everybody else answers. I'm like, Mrs. Riley, and only Mrs. Riley. But I'll say the kid's name, but the parents get it. So half the time I'm teaching, 90% of like what I'm talking to the kids, and if I'm having fun with the kids, it's for the parents who are in the back of the room, because kids have no clue what I'm talking about. This movie's in the 80s. They have no clue what I'm talking about, so it's really for the parents in the background. So the kids are having fun because we're laughing and goofing, and the parents get to have fun in the back of the room because we're laughing. All right, Sam, over to you. You said you had a bunch.
So I don't know if these necessarily qualify as guilty pleasures, but like sort of anything in the same genre, like She's the Man with Amanda Bynes, before she went a little
qualifies.
Loco. Where it's basically, I think
let's just clump the Amanda Bynes, the
Mary-Kate
Olsen
and
twins.
Ashley.
Let's clump all of those into guilty pleasure.
Does Cruel Intentions go in there?
Yeah,
because Cruel Intentions is on the list, and yet I do not find it to be a guilty pleasure movie.
I feel like a lot of people have watched that movie, like they've seen that. And
I saw it in the theaters.
Yeah, I think it was
because
among people it was like, what is it on IMDb, like, or Rotten Tomato? What's the?
I don't know.
I think that's kind of like a barometer too, right? If it has a high Rotten Tomato score, then how could it be? You know what I mean?
Let me look. I will look
Love
that up.
Actually and 10 Things I Hate About You are also on the list.
That makes 10 Things I Hate About You I've never seen. I don't think.
You would like it.
But I love Love Actually.
Love Actually. So let's talk about Love Actually for a minute, because I think Love Actually is adorable. And we watch it every Christmas. Yep. I mean, we watch a lot of things every Christmas. Let's not get it wrong. We watch a lot of Christmas movies in our house.
We do. But do we watch a lot of them, or do we watch the same 4 or 5 over and over again?
No,
right, we watch Elf.
We watch different ones.
We watch Christmas Vacation.
We watch Elf. We watch Christmas Vacation. We watch Scrooge.
We watch Grinch with Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. Yes, with Jim Carrey. We watch.
But that's also on there.
All the Santa Claus movies.
Yeah, those are yours. You love the Santa Claus movies.
We watch. What's the one that you like with the homeless kid and?
Oh, the Santa Claus. No, Santa Claus the movie. Santa Claus the movie. Yeah, with David Hiddleston from. He was on a bunch of stuff actually, but he played Santa Claus. He was one of my favorite Santa Clauses because he looks like Santa Claus. He sounds like Santa Claus. He's a big guy. We had Burgess Meredith in there, played Father Time, and that's one with Dudley Moore, who plays the elf that kind of gets like, he thinks nobody likes him or he's not good at being Santa's assistant, so he takes off to New York and hooks up with Jonathan Lithgow, who's like a really dirtbag toy maker, and he gets him to make these lollipops that makes kids fly, because he takes like a jar of the dust that they feed the reindeer, and they mix it into the lollipop mix, and it makes kids fly. So that's one of my. And then of course they want to up it. They want to have Christmas 2 in the middle of the year, and they're trying to basically take down Santa Claus, and they're going to be the toy provider for the whole world. And then he ups the formula, which basically is going to explode. So then Santa Claus, of course, has to come and save the day. And that's your recap on Santa Claus the movie. Go see it.
Wow.
Not one of my favorites, but I end up having to watch it.
But it's a great movie because it not only is it very Christmassy, I mean, it's all Christmas, but it has some of the best imagery for Christmas. Like when you see Santa's workshop and all the elves and the things that the toys, it's very stylistic. It's very awesome, like in that Christmas genre. It makes you feel like Christmas when you watch it.
We also remember we watched that one a couple years ago, Claws too, like the new one on Netflix.
Yes,
that one was really good.
That was good.
The one we did not like though, the Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn one.
Not the first one. The second one I think was a little bit better, but yeah, we didn't like the first one very much at all.
No, we were kind of like no.
Yeah,
I forget what it was called. I looked up Cruel Intentions on IMDb and it's 6.8.
Okay, what is it? Is that Rotten Tomato score?
Well, that's about what She's the Man, and I think Love Actually and 10 Things I Hate About You have a slightly higher. They're like in the 7s.
All right.
Well, 10 Things I Hate About You is, I think that's a tremendous, tremendous movie. I
It
like
is.
it because it's a Shakespeare spoof.
Yep.
Yep.
I think Julia Stiles is great. Heath Ledger is just like, he's so dreamy. I would totally date Heath Ledger in that movie. He is wonderful in that movie.
Even if you go back to supporting characters, though, you have Gabrielle Union coming right out of the gate. You have her father. I forget who plays Julia Stiles' father in that movie. He's also great.
He's played a million things.
You've got Allison B.
I
Janney
wonder if
as.
we have any technology that can help us find out.
I
Gee,
will.
I wonder.
Well, I'm trying to do Rotten Tomatoes for Cruel Intentions.
I know. I understand.
You have
that. We all a
Allison
cell
Janney
phone.
as the counselor writing the romance novel.
Yep. 55% on Rotten Tomatoes for Cruel Intentions, by the
Okay,
way.
so that's not a high number. That's
No.
not a super high number.
No.
So so that could be, I guess, a guilty pleasure movie. I have one that I love, and Amy, you hate this one with all the core of your being, is Labyrinth with David Bowie.
Oh, God, he is the creepiest.
Yeah, but he's meant to be creepy. He's
in that
supposed to be
movie.
creepy. It's a Jim Henson movie. You got David Bowie. You have Jennifer Connelly. This was kind of like her first big role. This movie was back from '86.
Okay, so not
it's a Jim
Pan's
Henson-
Labyrinth.
No,
No,
the
no,
original,
no.
the Labyrinth. It's not the Labyrinth. It's just called Labyrinth with David Bowie from '86, where he basically, needs to create like more like little trolls and whatever. He's a goblin. Excuse me. He's the Goblin King, and he has a labyrinth, and then you have to go through it. He basically comes and he wants Jennifer Connelly, and he wants her to accept him and to love him. So he steals her baby brother because she's supposed to babysit him. And it's like, I don't want, she believes in them. It's also like this imaginary world that she believes in, like within books, but then turns out to be like real, if you will. And so he comes and steals the baby so that she'll go through the labyrinth to get to him, to his castle to retrieve the baby.
Creepy imaginary dude kidnaps child in order to force girl to love him.
Do you see why it's a guilty pleasure movie now? It's
Right?
exactly right.
So-
and it's a Jim Henson movie, so let's just go
What-
with
what-
it's around the same time as Dark Crystal. So it's in that
Also
same very creepy
creepy.
movie. And I watched the hell out of Dark Crystal when I was a kid, but nowadays it creeps me out more than Labyrinth, so I don't watch it as much as I
I've
do Labyrinth.
I've never made it all the way through Dark Crystal.
It's not an easy sit. It can be I like the new Netflix series that they canceled like after one season, which I thought was really good, a good series, but they canceled it. That's kind of Netflix's way. But it's definitely, The Labyrinth is way better than Dark Crystal.
See, how could you not want to watch that movie now? Don't you just want to run home and watch it immediately?
No, it gives me the heebie-jeebies and I want to run away.
Kind of like
It seems like to me like there's always a section, and you would say the same thing. There's certain movies that you love inherently, but you want other people to see, even experience once, whether they love it or hate it. It's like you should give yourself that option to watch it at least once if you have never seen it.
Here's another
because
one.
it's 2 hours out of your life.
Yeah. Here's another one, right? I think a lot of people love this movie, and I find it inherently creepy. Beetlejuice.
Love that. It's on my
It's
top 10
creepy
movies.
as hell.
It's supposed to be creepy. Yeah. First of all, it's a Tim Burton movie. So once you stick Tim Burton on the top of that movie list, you know it's going to be a creepy movie. I mean, give me one of his movies that's not really inherently creepy. Right? They're all, even the original Batman movie, especially the second one, Batman Returns, which he did. There's creepy tones to it. The second one with the penguin. They couldn't even sell those toys at McDonald's. Like the people wouldn't buy the Happy Meal sales went down because the Danny DeVito penguin was so creepy that kids didn't want to have the toy.
He was.
And he didn't care. Tim Burton's like, I don't care. This is the penguin. This is what we have, and I'm deal with it. And they didn't
It
want
was
to change
really
it.
bad.
It was. Well, he ate a guy's nose. Like he bit the guy's nose. He's eating raw fish. I mean, it was weird. And they don't forget the fact that at the beginning of the movie, they dumped the kid in the river in the basket.
I forgot that part. But
yeah,
yes.
that was Pee Wee Herman. That was Paul Rubens. And the wife in that, Cobblepot's wife, was the woman from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the one that they're sitting on the dinosaur together, the waitress.
Oh yeah.
That's her. That's her.
Oh.
She played his wife, and that was a little because Tim Burton. Pee-wee's Big Adventure, Tim Burton. So yeah. Yeah, it's a little,
No,
little bit of
I mean
trivial history
that's
there.
another one. I think lots of people love that movie.
Love the movie.
Lots of people love, and I know it's from Winona Ryder's breakout role, and Michael Keaton is really. I just can't.
Yeah.
I just can't.
One of my favorite Michael Keaton roles, and I can quote. It's another movie I can quote inside and out. Like,
And that's
I
always
love.
lost on me because I can't.
Yes, there's so many movies I love you, but there's so many movies I quote on you. Like I got no idea what she looks
I
at
have no
me.
idea.
Yeah, so it's a chore for me. It's like I have to find that one that's gonna make her laugh, right? Like the My Cousin Vinny. I gotta make her laugh like
It's
that.
not a chore.
it's a
You
chore.
signed up for this.
No, it's a chore because I have to find it. I have to find that one. No, I didn't sign up for that. I signed up to love. I didn't sign up to find the movie quotes.
That's
that
part of
that's
loving
gonna make
her.
love. Let's find that movie quote. Oh boy, this
sorry.
podcast is taking a turn.
Yeah.
All right, so back to Labyrinth. Nice try. Back to Labyrinth. So
No, not. I found the father in 10 Things I Hate About You. It's Larry Miller.
okay. Oh yeah, Larry Miller. Yeah,
Larry
yeah.
Miller. Like
Yeah,
there's
comedian,
a lot of
stand-up
people. Larissa Oleynik is the sister in that movie. It must have been one of her first roles. Heath Ledger. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in it.
Oh,
Yep.
okay.
Yep. Gabrielle Union. And there's a lot of people. Andrew Keegan. It's real. I don't know. I really liked it. I think it's one of the better Shakespeare adaptations that were done, I think.
All right.
Because it's Taming of the Shrew.
It's
Got it,
him,
yeah.
yeah.
Right.
And then She's the Man is it Two Gentlemen from Verona or The Merchant of Venice?
I don't remember. I
Two
can't-
Gentlemen of Verona, I believe.
yeah.
If we're not wrong, write in. It's
Yeah.
engageentertainmentrants.com. Let us know. Or hit us up on our social media, Entertainment Rants.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right, let's talk about, let's see, again, I'm going to probably pick some movies you haven't seen. Okay, so here's one that, again, creeps me out to no end, yet I watch, and I don't know why I watch it. It's called Time Bandits. It's an 80s movie.
I've never seen it, but
It's essentially...
you've told me about it.
It's a group of little people who basically work for their God's assistants, and they steal the map of time.
Okay, so just a quick question. When you say little people, do you mean children or little people?
Little people. No, I would have said
Okay.
children if it was children.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
just asking.
No, I'm using the
Paint
correct
me a
PC
picture.
term. I'm using the correct PC term. Little people who steal God's map of time. So there's all these doorways through time that they can go through and go into different parts of history. So they steal that because basically what they want to do is become rich. I don't know why they work for God, but obviously the pay isn't great. So they steal the map of time and go throughout history collecting treasures.
Okay,
And
dope.
they end up in England at one point. They kind of get into this kid's bedroom, like they come through his closet or whatever, and he's like, what the hell's going on? And then, God's coming. God's like, you stole my map, give me my shit back. And he just becomes this like an astral head at first, and he chases them, and like all of a sudden the kid's like bedroom just like turns into this like ginormously long hallway and then falls into another door, and he gets caught up in it, and now he's like on this adventure with it.
No.
Right. So that's my point. Like as a kid watching this movie, I'm like, oh my God, this kid basically just gets kidnapped throughout time with a bunch of little people that he doesn't know. And they're all like, trying to steal and do all these crazy things. And then he gets separated from them at one point. They end up on the Titanic at one point, like right before, like as it's about to crash.
That's a feel-good movie.
Oh yeah, but then it's like all this other like fantasy stuff, right? They're on a boat with Catherine Hellman. She was Mona from Who's the
yeah,
Boss,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So
yeah.
she's there, and like her husband, like this giant troll dude who's like got a bad back, and they end up solving it because they throw him in the water. And he's like, "Oh, this is wonderful." And then it ends up being on like this, the boat like it lands on this giant's head, and he comes out of the water, but the boat's still on top of it, and they're all like, "What the hell do we do?" Right? And so it's like this. It's just weird. It's another one, much like The Adventures of Baron Munchausen. Have you ever seen that? Probably by the stairs. I'm going to say you didn't. It's one of those like situations, just keeps going from one little situation to another. That's just one gets weirder than the next. So as a kid, you're watching this really surreal, weird imagery, and you're like, this is really scary. Like I would never want any of this crap to happen to me. Because there's a lot of separation problem. There's a lot of being left alone. There's a lot of abandonment issue things going on there.
I don't know. I had a very active imagination as a kid. So a lot of these things, like it was hard for me to tolerate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because then I would I had a hard time with Maleficent.
Yeah.
I was always convinced she was under my bed in the closet,
Sure.
hiding in the bathroom at night. If I had to get up and go to the bathroom, like she was she terrified me. So a lot of this stuff I just couldn't even manage.
Right.
I mean, when I was little, I used to, because someone had Misery on, literally Kathy Bates and that little like when she breaks the guy's legs.
Who had Misery on? Someone in our house?
Yes.
Not me.
Wasn't you. And literally Kathy Bates.
Two other people in that house that could have had it on.
Two other people in the house could have had it on.
I would probably say not your mother.
Yeah. And literally like Kathy Bates, I just used to picture like I'd wake up in the middle of the night and oh my God, she'd be at the end of my bed.
Yeah. So Time Bandit, going back to Time Bandits, it basically ends up with like, they end up at the devil's place, like at his castle. Oh yeah, so the devil with his two little,
oh my
minions.
God, this gets worse
it
and
gets
worse.
Way worse. They basically get kidnapped by the devil, put in these big cages that are hanging over nothingness, and they have to get out of the cages that are hanging over nothingness, and they have to defeat the devil, and God comes down and basically defeats the devil. But the devil is like,
oh my God,
super creepy dude. I forget who was played by. I'm actually looking it up. So the movie's from 1981.
You know what that just made me think of? Which is, I bet, what you would call a guilty pleasure movie.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you've seen it. You never have. Willow.
I've seen it. Not one of my favorite movies, but yes, definitely a creepy movie.
I really liked it. Very creepy. But that one I liked. Like, that one I liked, and I sat through and saw a few times.
Right.
I remember going to see it in the theater with Ryan and like our cousin and our godmother took us to see that. I remember, and I liked it, like, because it ends up happy. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of really, really high creep factor in that one. What were we doing to children in the 80s?
We're scaring this. So this is the Time Bandits was 81. You got
doing?
Sean Connery in it.
Are y'all
John Cleese is in it. Ian Holm is in it. Michael
Is
Palin
this
was
like
in
the
it.
decade of scaring kids straight? Like,
Yeah.
what is this?
But you have to remember it was Just Say No, so there was a lot of no and,
But there wasn't a lot of like, this is not appropriate for kids. Time Bandits was PG.
No, and
it's
so
a
wasn't
PG movie. So not G movie, but it's PG
no,
movie.
so wasn't Willow. I'm sure Willow. They would never take me to see
God
something.
versus the devil. They turn the devil into this like basically this rock that if you touch it, you just turn into a hermit crab. So the God's like, don't touch that. It's pure evil. If you touch it, you turn to a hermit crab. So they come and they collect it, right? They have to collect it properly, put it in this like waste disposable thing, and a piece of it gets put in like it ends up in the kid is back home. Right, and all of a sudden there's a fire in his house, and the firemen come and they take him out of the house, and like one of the firemen's, I found the cause of the fire. Here's your toaster oven. There's something burning in it, and it's a piece of the devil. And the kid recognizes it, and the parents both touch it and turn to hermit crabs. So they're gone. He's like, don't touch that. Poof, they're gone. Now he's gone through this whole movie without his parents, like separate, and now they're gone. Like I'm like, really? That's how you end the movie, and you expect me to sleep? After just watching the devil and the piece kills the parents, like, yeah, I'm not sleeping till at least the next 6 years. That was great. So that was one of those movies, like sleeping, I had to like think of happy thoughts, like, oh, think of Disney World, think of going to see Mickey, like I'm just trying to sleep.
That's my issue with horror movies. Like,
it's not a horror movie.
No, thank you. I'd rather not. Like, I don't want it to disturb my sleep. I don't want to have to like go into therapy because I've seen this movie and now I'm scared of things. Like, nah, I'm all set.
No, there's no way.
Definitely a therapy-inducing movie.
No, neither of us are.
Time Bandits, and again, Baron Munchausen was very much.
We have that. I've seen it.
Yeah, we have it on our Apple.
Yep, and I've never had an impulse to watch it.
That one's not like this. There's not like a devil imagery and things like that, or God or devil. It's just him who's like, he's an eccentric. It's like starts off as a play, and he's the real. They're doing a play about Baron Munchausen that he arrives like, no, that none of this happened this way, and it's his band of people, and then like the Turks are on the outside of this village, basically trying to take over the village, and he has to go out and save the village from the Turks, and he goes in. So like almost like the play turns into the real adventure. Like inadvertently, and he goes and collects, and it's all these. It's an amazing movie. Robin Williams is in it briefly. Is it really weird?
Yes.
He's the king of the moon, the king and the queen, but their heads come off.
Okay.
And they go flying around.
No, thank you.
The weird part is that they're having sex in the bed, and then Robin Williams is there, but the queen let her head go away to save the Baron.
Yeah.
Because they had kidnapped the Baron. Again, people in cages. The queen goes, and Robin Williams is in the bed. He's like, oh, you're really quiet tonight while they're having sex. And he realizes, oh, your head's not here. Oh, you're with him, aren't you? So he has to go find the head.
So you're not making me want to see this movie at all.
Oh, I realized
it just made
that. Sam has her hands on her face.
The thing about the Turks just made me think of, this might be another guilty pleasure movie, My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Oh, hell yes. Thank God, something normal.
Okay. Right? My Big Fat Greek
Can
Wedding.
I explain a movie or what?
Right? Right? I think that's totally a guilty pleasure movie.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, we watched that the night before I got married.
Oh, yeah.
We watched that and Father of the Bride the night before our wedding. But that's one I think could be a guilty pleasure movie. Kristen and I went to see that in the theater. who we've been friends for 25 years. We figured out last night, like we're both feeling pretty upset about that. We're both having a lot of feelings about that.
Upset that you're friends for 25 years, well, and that it's been 25 years.
Just that we're old enough to have been friends for 25 years. We went to see it in the theater, and we were just those obnoxious.
How old are you in kindergarten? How old basically are you?
6.
Okay, so
you turned 6 that year.
Yeah, so John and I have been friends for 29 years. So we met in kindergarten and became friends.
No, you and John have been friends longer than that.
We were 6. I'm 45 now. So I'm sorry, 39 years. Wow, there's math for you. So
Thank you.
Newton Public Schools did a great job for me with math. Yes. 39 years.
Thank you, Wakefield Public Schools, for what you've done for us over here.
39 years. So take that with your 25. I've been friends with John for 39 years.
Well, so there's
that.
that.
I did the math properly.
Now that you, math is hard, dear, right?
Math is hard.
That's why I'm in charge of our money.
That's right. You be in charge of the books because I'm not.
But My Big Fat Greek Wedding, I think I think that could be like a guilty pleasure movie. Kristen and I watched it in the theater and howled. We were those obnoxious people, but also because there is resonance to that in terms of like the Italian family at a wedding. And I certainly felt like there was a lot of that when we got married. Not nearly as much as there could have been, but like they take over the whole thing. People were really very good when we got married, but there were definitely opinions.
Then you take it, so like you saw it with another Italian. You both understand that culture.
Yeah, we lived
I saw that movie with my 2 Irish best friends. They had no idea what was going on.
And it's horrific.
And
they're horrified.
They had these horrified faces on, and I'm sitting there laughing hysterically and crying.
Yep.
Because I understand it.
Because you're living it, yeah.
Because you're living it. No, there is. Funny. So she totally got it. We were, and in general, people in the theater, I think when it was pretty well received when we saw it, but like we were just howling because it's so true. It's so funny. Like the absolute worst case scenario of how something can go like that in an involved family, which it's wonderful to have close family around, but there can be the downside to that too. And Jen, when we got married, it was definitely not my big fat Italian wedding, but it was.
No, definitely.
People
not.
were very good.
Yeah.
People offered opinions, but then if we said no, thank you, they were really very good.
Yeah, definitely.
I have to say.
Absolutely.
And you can't. People just want to help. So
yeah, absolutely.
But that's another one. I think that is that's probably a guilty pleasure.
Well, the
movie.
second one's probably more so a guilty pleasure movie.
The second one's bad.
Well, that's what it is. So is it a guilty pleasure movie? Because it really is anybody watching it?
We went to
does
see
anybody
it.
Continue to watch that movie like under the skies? I don't like this.
We went to see that in the theater, and we were the only people there.
Right.
That's true. Yeah.
But I mean, we went to like you were working late. You closed that night, so we went to see it at like a midnight show. It was really late, but I think maybe 2 other people came in, but it was just us.
Yeah, I still had fun.
No, I mean we had fun, but would I pay money to see that movie again? No,
probably not. Yeah,
not even to like rent it.
Right. So it's one of those.
It wasn't.
Movies,
I mean, it wasn't terrible, but it wasn't.
It's nothing to write home about.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. It was fine. I'm glad I saw it. Now, moving on.
You've moved on. Well, that's it. There's some movies like I was talking about, like Johnny Dangerously. It's one of those movies you should experience once and then don't ever have to watch it again. But at least you say, like, yeah, I've seen that movie because it is a pretty popular movie where people quote it, people talk about, not just me, people talk about it. It's like, oh, I'd never seen that before. So you've never gotten the chance to experience it and say, yes, I hated it, or no, I actually do like that. Because let's face it, there's got to be movies. Like I know there's plenty of movies. I'm not the target audience for Love Actually, but I love that movie. And if I had been dead since again, no, it's a silly love story movie. I'm not going to watch that. I don't care about it. I wouldn't be enjoying that movie when we get to watch it because I just put my foot down and said, no, I don't like those type of movies. I'm not averagely watching those type. I don't actively seek out those movies, but if my girlfriend wants to see that movie, now my wife obviously wants to see that movie, I'll watch it. That's fine, and I don't have to watch it again. But at least I've said I've watched it with you.
You never saw it before we were together?
I think I'd seen it once or twice, but you really liked that movie, so I got into watching the movie. Yeah.
I love that movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
We've already reviewed that.
Yeah, no, but it's a great movie.
I do not happen to share his opinion on Johnny Dangerously. I think you can live a life well without having seen it, but Samantha, you'll have to watch it and be the judge.
Do you like comedies? Do you like spoof movies?
Yes. I like comedies. I like spoof movies, but
it's a movie to give a try to because it's a comedy. It's a spoof movie.
Yeah, and it is.
I tend to be more of the like Anchorman. Blades of Glory.
Right. So if you like that kind of stuff, then you probably like Johnny Dangerously. It's silly, stupid fun.
Or anything
like,
broken.
Those are just
like
silly,
anything
fun.
Broken Lizard. So like Super Troopers, one of my all-time favorites.
There you go. You like a Super Troopers movies, you're gonna like it. You could like a Johnny Dangerously. It's just unrealistic,
you might
slapstick, funny with lots of great imagery, a lot of great scenery, a lot of great quotables. When the younger brother, he basically wants to quit law school because he wants to get married because he's only going to have sex with his wife when he gets married. And so Johnny's like, come here, I'm going to tell you why you shouldn't leave college, law school to do this. That's ridiculous theory. And he shows him a video, like this spoof video. It's called Your Testicles and You. And so this doctor basically explains what happens if you have too much sex and your testicles like a balloon, he blows it up. If you have too much sex and he pops it, that can happen. And they takes you over to the Testicle Institute basically, and these just dudes walking around with ginormous, like huge, bigger than beach balls, and they're walking down the hallways like,
okay,
this
so again,
can happen to
theme
you.
from the 80s, misinformation about sex education to all the children. Okay, good, just so we're on the same page.
But a spoof comedy, so yeah, of course you're going to be over, satiring it.
It was abstinence education in the 80s. It wasn't sex ed.
And that was the point. It was the whole absence. Like, that's what he was
It was
talking about. Like, you should be
abstinence
abstinent because this could happen to you.
That's exactly
Staring
what it
them
was.
straight with giant testicles.
That's exactly what it was. Just say no. Again, just say no. Carry it through. Just say
Carrying
no.
it through to giant testicles. And there you have Johnny Dangerously in a nutshell.
All right, so if I watch Johnny Dangerously, Marco, have you seen Beer Fest?
Beer Fest. I know of it. I've never watched it.
All right, so then you have to see Beer Fest.
All right. I'm down with that. I'm down with putting 2 hours in to test it, to see a movie that other people really like. And see, I'm okay with that. I don't have a problem with that. I've seen Freaky Friday. Not my wheelhouse, but somebody, I forget who wanted to watch it. I'm like, all right, let's just watch it. It's fine.
Not bad.
No, but it's not a movie aimed at me.
No, or me either. But
Right.
I think it's not. Did you see the one with Jamie Lee Curtis
That's
and
what
Lindsay
I'm talking-
Lohan?
that's what I'm talking about.
There's an old one too.
Yeah,
there's one like
that concept has been redone a billion
Yeah.
times, right? Vice versa with what's his name from the Wonder Years and
Fred Savage.
Fred Savage and Judge Reinhold. They did Vice Versa. You have Father. Is it Father? No. There's one with Kirk Cameron and Dudley Moore where they do. It's basically the same thing as that.
Oh,
that
Arthur, isn't that Arthur?
No. This is. Oh God, is it Father? No, I'll look it up because it's the same thing where they brain swap essentially.
Yeah. Or even Face Off is in some ways that, right?
Yeah.
Like,
But wasn't Face Off a whole thing about one of them was a criminal?
yeah, and they cut the faces off, but in some ways it is. It's about it's the same thing. This whole like swapping lives.
Yeah.
What is that one with the guys on the yacht? That right at the end, they're the guys on the yacht that like. Oh God, I'm trying to think about
Well, I feel like you also have to, like, within any guilty pleasure movie podcast, you have to also there's a separate subgenre of Nicolas Cage movies that must be talked about.
Like Father Like Son is what I'm talking about.
Like Father Like Son is the one you're talking about.
Yeah, it's Kirk Cameron and Dudley Moore.
Yeah.
Same idea, right? This little magical head, like voodoo head, essentially makes them change.
It took me a while to come up with Fred Savage because I was thinking like all I could think was Kevin Arnold's, which was his name on the Wonder Years.
Yeah, it's the name of the show.
And I knew that wasn't right.
Yeah.
So even though I never watched, they're remaking the Wonder Years.
I know. Isn't it Dule Hill's?
Dule Hill's the dad.
He's the dad.
And
Yeah,
I can't remember the name
awesome.
of the kid, but it looks really.
It does look really good.
It was on the other night. It was on at your parents' actually when I was over there picking Christian up the other night, and it seemed pretty good.
Nice.
I feel like something I might watch.
Yeah. Yeah, why not? It looks good. We love Dule Hill. We loved him in Psych. They go back to Psych again.
I'm sorry, he was excellent in
It was great
West
in the
Wing.
West Wing.
Yeah,
he
West
was
Wing.
great
I
in the
loved West Wing. That's actually
that's
why
why
I
I knew him
watched.
from.
That's why I started watching Psych because I saw the West Wing.
Right.
And I really liked him in the West Wing. So, West Wing is that's not a guilty pleasure.
No,
That is
that's just a highly regarded
That is
TV
just
show.
a wonderful TV show.
Absolutely. All right, Sam, you got another one for us?
Well, I feel like Amy brought up Face Off. Nick Cage is in Face Off, so then I got to go down the list of Nick Cage movies.
I mean, let's just say Nick Cage, right?
Nick Cage.
No, I
There's
think
so
there's
much
a
of his
lot.
stuff is guilty
There's
pleasure
just
stuff.
so much to pick apart there.
Con Air.
Yes, Con
There
Air's
you
on the
go.
list. Con Air is on a list.
Con
It's on one
Air.
of the lists.
I mean, I saw it. I've definitely seen worse movies.
Oh, absolutely.
I've definitely seen worse movies. Not in a huge rush to watch it again.
No.
It's another one I went and saw in the theater. I forget why.
Yeah.
But, wasn't bad.
Yep.
What I remember more is that Leanne Rimes was like there was a song, whatever the song from the movie was.
Yeah.
And she was, what I remember most about it is that she sang the song and she was only 15 at the time. And I remember thinking like how beautiful her voice was.
Yep.
But this thing about all the convicts on the plane, John Malkovich is in it too,
Yep.
playing his usual creepy.
Yeah, Steve Buscemi's in there.
I forgot about Steve
He
Buscemi.
plays the craziest guy in the whole lot.
That's right. Yeah.
And that's my favorite.
Oh, the
He's
one who's
sitting-
going after the kids.
Yeah, he's my favorite one. He's like, talk about irony. This is the definition of irony. There's a bunch of idiots on a plane singing a song made by a bunch of guys who died in a plane crash.
Oh yeah, because this thing. Yes, 'cause
That's
this
my
thing.
favorite line in the whole movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It is, but so that's one. I think
And I think in all the Nick Cage movies, that's one of the most grounded ones in the fact that he's not like overly Nick Cage. There's not a ton of that Nick Cage, screaming at the camera type of, insanity. He's most reserved, one of the most reserved
Gone in
movies.
60 Seconds.
Yeah, he does that in Gone in 60 Seconds. He's, there's a lot
yeah.
of
Where
Moonstruck,
do you find
obviously,
him?
but
Moonstruck.
this
Yeah,
is a great movie.
I
but
mean,
there's a lot
even
of-
National
he does that.
Treasure and National Treasure 2, he loses it a little bit.
The Rock. The Rock, he
Yeah.
has that kind of couple of
don't
moments
like-
in The Rock.
I don't love The Rock.
I love The Rock.
I don't love it.
I love that movie.
I had a
That's
hard
one
time
of the
with
movies
it. I would give it another try.
No,
I would
why did you
give
have a
it
hard
another
time with it? I love that movie.
I just
so
had a
why
hard
don't I-
time getting into it. I feel like the beginning with Sean Connery, I don't know. There was just something in the beginning that made it hard for me to get into it. I'd give it another try. I feel like
Yeah.
it's such a good movie. I'd totally give that one another
Yeah,
try.
it's a good action flick.
It might
you know
have
what
just
I mean?
been, some
it's
nights.
a popcorn movie, right? You're not gonna solve the mysteries of the world
Yeah.
on it, but it's fun to watch for a couple hours.
Some nights you're just not in the mood for something new or something like that you have to think about too much.
Yes.
It might have just been that.
Could have been, yeah,
It might have just been that. I'd try it again.
yeah. It's a fun. I love that movie. We'll have to watch.
What
that
is
movie.
The Rock?
The Alcatraz?
Yeah, we should. I would like to go to The Rock when we're in San Francisco.
That's right. Yeah, we should definitely do that.
That's one of my things I'd like to
Apparently,
do.
you have to book those tickets now very early in advance, especially
Yeah.
because of COVID.
Yeah, I'd imagine that there's a sort of limited.
We'll find out.
Limited number of people going in at a time to keep the group smaller. I'd imagine.
We'll find out. There's other things to do there.
Here's one on the list, and one of my favorites: Ace Ventura: Peck Detective.
Oh, good Lord.
Yep.
Is
watch that
is
movie
that
all
the
day
one
long.
where the dolphin gets kidnapped, or was
Yes.
that later?
No, the Ace Ventura, the original is the dolphin one. The
Yeah.
second one is when he's going to find the bat, and when he's
All right.
in Africa finding the bat.
Let's go into a subcategory here of Jim Carrey movies.
Yeah,
then.
he's got
Oh,
his
God,
whole-
yeah.
Because
He's got a
his
whole...
category all by himself.
How about The Mask?
Yeah, no, The Mask is a wonderful Jim
No,
Carrey
it's
movie.
not. It's
Yes.
creepy.
That doesn't make it a bad movie. There's a
Yes,
lot
it
of
does.
great creepy movies, but that was a great comedy. It was a great comedy. He's almost at one of his best because, like the Ace Ventura movie, he was just starting out in making movies. By the time we got to The Mask, he was a little bit more seasoned and he understood what was he needed to do. But I think the direction on that movie was good, and what they told him to do, what the direction they allowed him to go on, because without clear direction, he just starts going. Like he becomes full on Jim Carrey. So
Like Robin Williams.
the second
and that,
Pet Detective movie, the second one where he's in Africa, it was kind of like they said, okay, you did these parts of the first movie were really good when you were being really ace. Now just do that for an hour and 45 minutes. And it kind of was too much. It was, even though I enjoyed the second one, he was constantly on. It was an hour and 45 minutes of him being Ace Ventura, over the top, doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
The first one had its moments, right? It was definitely more reserved because they didn't understand what he could do. But I think The Mask was meant to be that way. So they really let him go
maybe.
on it. But
I had a harder time with The Mask.
I love that movie.
I liked it. I saw another one. I went to see it in the theaters with my dad. I don't know why.
Yeah.
That's not usually his kind of a thing. But
Yeah, it was
do you have other ones? Because man, the only other Jim Carrey movies I can think of right now are like The Truman Show, which I would not consider over the top.
No.
No, well,
Or,
you've got the Dumb and Dumber series that they
Oh,
did.
how could I forget that?
I honestly, to me, the first one's the only good one. Like I've seen the other ones. I don't really care about them. Like I don't really care to watch them over again.
Well,
the first one I'll watch over and over again.
Well, and he was in How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and that's on
That,
multiple
constant.
lists.
I
We
like
watched
that.
We watched
I
that
really
so
like that
many
one.
times.
I
Starting
love
in
that
November,
movie,
we
though.
and I
really
do,
started
but
watching it.
that's his kind of a role, right?
Yeah.
Where he's supposed to be like that, and it
Yeah.
makes sense to be like that.
You know my favorite scene.
Which one?
The one when he flips the table.
Oh, yeah.
That is my favorite one, when he goes and he pulls the tablecloth off, and then like everything stays there. So that was a mistake. They were all supposed to come off, and so he'd been practicing it. So that's a little trivia. That stuff wasn't meant to stay, and if they happened to shoot the one time, it
That he did
stayed.
it, yeah.
He stayed. He did it right, and so he then impromptu, like completely off the cuff, runs back and takes everything off the table, which is funny enough. But then as he turns to walk away, he flips the table backwards. That I lose it every time. It's just like one more bang, screw you.
When he can do
flips
these
it.
over the top comedic roles when they're written
But that was
way.
impromptu. That was totally spoofed on the end of it. That was awesome.
But I think like he's really a good comedian, and
Yeah.
he's got a lot of ability to do that, and I appreciate him more in that than like, for example, I was just thinking like The Truman Show. The Truman Show wasn't a comedy, but I didn't particularly care for it. Like it was just
it was out of his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
I like
And
that
it
movie,
wasn't-
and as a whole, the whole concept I don't really like,
Yeah.
obviously. But the fact that they kept him basically a prisoner.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, as an experiment for a TV
Yeah.
show. Like obviously the concept behind it was weird, but yeah, I get what you're saying. It's not really his wheelhouse, right? It's
Yeah.
not an Ace Ventura movie.
and it didn't. But at the same time, and I've never seen Man in the Moon, but they say like the Andy Kaufman movie was.
Oh, I've seen that. That was a tough sit. It's a good movie because it's like what they're trying to do works, but knowing the backstory and how much like he got method on that character really makes it a tough sit to watch. It really does. I've seen it. I've only watched it once, and it's one of those I don't have plans of watching again. Like you said, like Schindler's List. Like it kind of makes you itchy. Like it kind of makes you a squirrel in your seat, but not in a good way. So you're like, I don't know. I've seen it. I understand what the concept is about. I understand what all the hype was about, but I'm okay.
I've never seen that one. I think he definitely he fits into those. Liar, Liar too. I just thought
that is one of my favorite Jim Carrey movies of all time. Not only is it one of his funniest because it's him somewhat under control, but so it's not just off the top, Jim, Ace Ventura, but it also has some of the best outtakes of any movie ever. The outtake scenes. Have you ever watched the outtakes?
No.
Have you watched the outtakes on that movie?
I've never seen that movie all the way through.
Well, okay, so we have to first of all, we got to watch all three. But the second, you have to watch the outtakes. Remember the courtroom scene at the end when he actually gets her to win. He gets Jennifer Tilly's character. She actually wins the decision. So there's that point where he's like, he's going over her driver's license because that's essentially how he gets her, to win. And he's like, 5'8", blonde. She's like, I'm a brunette. He's like, should we check? And he's like, 118. Like, yeah, in your bra, right? And then the prosecutor, she's like, objection. She starts freaking out on him. She's like, shut up. He goes to the whole back scene. So in the outtake, she's like, I object. He goes, you would. And it's supposed to be this whole back and forth. She goes, overactor. He's like, Jessa. He loses it. He can't even finish his next line. She's like, Tom Shadyac, put me up to that. He's like, oh, sure he did. Then he walks away from the camera going, they're on to me. He walks away.
I don't know, but there are, I think definitely a lot of his movies could be guilty pleasure. I would call Liar, Liar a guilty pleasure.
Liar, Liar, Bruce Almighty.
I don't like Evan Almighty, even though I love Steve Carell.
Yeah.
But the movie just wasn't the same.
I knew there was one that he did
and then they
like that
remade
too.
Fun with Dick and Jane.
Yeah. Not a big fan.
No.
Which wasn't a big fan of that one.
I did not like Me, Myself, and Irene.
No, because that's creepy.
It's a creepy. He does not need to be in the creepy factor movies.
Okay, how about There's Something About Mary?
Again, creepy.
It's a little creepy. It's definitely a lot stalkerish. It's an extremely stalkerish movie, but it's a funny movie. The Farrelly brothers make a funny movie, but from a certain point of view.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'd prefer to watch White Chicks.
No, not if I was playing on the inside of my eyelids. But if it was Something About Mary, it's hard to put past the whole stalkerish scenes. Like that is really tough to put past. If you can get past it, then it's a funny movie. But that is very easily, especially now. And again, it's one of those movies that 2021, I don't know if they could float that kind of a movie in 2021.
Even before 2021, though, it wasn't my favorite.
No, absolutely not.
It wasn't.
But I could see, we know why.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You were definitely not the target audience for that.
Well, not only am I not the target audience, then you factor in what I do, and that stuff I think hits me differently than other people.
Absolutely.
But,
I could see that. Absolutely. And I don't think it's just people in your profession. I think there's definitely, again, it's a heavily stalker movie. You know what I mean? It's an hour and 40, let's say an hour or 2 hours worth of stalkerish time. It's definitely strange. Unlike that Brandon Routh Superman movie, which is like there was a scene where he's just floating outside her window watching her and her husband, which is a little weird for a Superman movie.
Yeah.
Superman Returns. He's literally just out there hovering, watching her like in her home because he misses her and he's jealous that she's married. And so he's just sitting out there watching. So stalker Superman. It was really weird. It's like touted as like, why did they not cut that out of the movie?
Okay.
Definitely shouldn't have been in there. There you go. All right, Sam, any other ones on our final notes?
Hot Fuzz.
Hot Fuzz. Never seen it. I know what you're talking about. I've never had a chance to watch it.
So
Talk to me
basically,
about Hot Fuzz.
you've got the same group of guys. It's almost like Broken Lizard. Like if you've seen the Super Trooper or like the Beer Fest, it's the same group of guys. They do a couple of different ones. It's the Shaun of the Dead guys.
Okay.
And basically, there's this wonder cop in Britain, and Bill Nye is the police commissioner in London, and they're all mad at him because he's making them all look bad. He's getting too many arrests. He's doing too good of a job. So they send him off to this little tiny, supposedly quiet English village where he uncovers this massive plot. All of these people are murdered. All of these people are disappearing. And everyone's saying, oh, no, it's the best place to live. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Nothing would happen here. Turns out, they have town councils in England. Mm-hmm. The town council is in on this big plot. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it.
We're all about the spoilers here.
all about the spoilers, to basically make this town voted the best place to live in England because the head of the town council, his wife wanted to do it one year, she didn't get to, and she killed herself. So ever since then, this entire group of town council people have been coming together and literally killing anyone that could besmirch the name of the town. So like there's this terrible actor and his like 22-year-old like mistress who were like in charge of the play. The play is absolutely unwatchable.
Okay.
All of a sudden they end up dead in a road accident. And the cops just like, how could they die in a road accident? His head's chopped off. Well, I guess they were driving too fast then. And just things that don't make sense.
His kappa gets detated from his head.
It just gets decapitated. And he's like...
It's an Office reference if you haven't been paying attention. His kappa gets detated from his head. He's walking around headless.
I'm sorry. Hot Fuzz is not my brand of movie.
It's not. Honestly, as much as I love spoofs, it just never struck me as something I needed to watch. Maybe I do, but for some reason, it just wasn't. I was like, I have to see that movie.
You two can have movie night, and I will go find something else to do.
There you go. You take the son and go do something.
I'm not taking him. You put him to bed and have movie night.
Okay, that sounds like a plan.
Okay.
All right. We're about an hour and 10. Amy, did you want to finish up with any last movie or?
No, I think we've hit all of mine. Like we've hit all
yours?
of the. I think we hit most of mine.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right.
I feel like Marco and I have way more guilty pleasure movies than you do. I feel like you watch pretty like normal things, and Marco and I are just like in our little corners like
I think what you're trying to say is Amy's more selective.
Yeah.
And we'll just watch any shit that comes along.
Pretty much.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty much.
And on that note, thank you everybody for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed the podcast. If you ever want to be a guest on our show, hit us up online. Our website is entertainmentrants.com. The email is engage@entertainmentrants.com. You can find us on all of our social media at Entertainment Rants and on Twitter at Entertain Rants. We're glad you were here. If you'd leave us a review, we would love to hear from you. Let us know if you like the podcast, if others should listen to it, and we'd love to be able to read your reviews on our podcast. So I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to Sam and, of course, Amy, all right, for being on the podcast today. If you liked them, let us know so we can have them on again sometime. Everybody want to say goodbye?
Bye.
Till next time.
All right, everybody, keep on ranting.